Hi, my name is Sean Mabry. I'm a writer, and today I wanted to make a bonus video for this week, 2-in-1 week. That almost never happens, but here it is. So something very good happened to me. I had some really great news, which has an important writing lesson for you when it comes to rejection, because that good news is that I had one of my short stories rejected from one of the publications I sent out to earlier this week. Now, it might be kind of funny to hear rejection as a piece of good news, but it's true. It is good news to have one of your stories rejected, because rejections are part of the path to getting acceptances. They are part of the path to finding the right audience for your work. It's proof that you're getting out there and doing stuff. You're actually making the effort to submit. It shows that you are involved. You are taking the path of being a writer seriously. So I have learned, I did not know this automatically, but I've learned to be grateful anytime I get a story rejection, because again, it's evidence that I am following the path and earning my stripes as a writer. And I would encourage you to think the same thing whenever you have one of your stories rejected. But there's another lesson here also having to do with rejection that I wanted to share, because this particular outlet, I'm not going to say the name because there's no need to do that. They're doing their job and I respect them. But the staff at this magazine sent me a note with reader comments, basically a note from the editor saying what they thought the story had going for it well, but also what could be done differently. And the overarching idea behind those notes was, hey, this story doesn't work, but here's what you could do differently to make it work. And the interesting thing here is that this is a short story that I've worked on, for quite a while. I consider it actually one of my best so far. And I, at one point, at a writer's conference earlier this year, in the summer, I read this story to a group of other writers. There was about 20 people in the room, and just got glowing reviews from 90% of the people there. There were, I think, 1 or 2 people who didn't quite get it, but I could feel it while I was reading the story aloud. I kind of had the room spellbound, and I got these glowing compliments on the story after the fact. And, contrast that with this note from the editor saying, this story doesn't work, it needs to be rewritten, it needs to be, there are some kind of specific points on like what I need to take out or remove, and even a suggestion that I sort of do it in a different style. And this is not to say that I am right or that they are wrong, because it's not the case. It's not true to say that I am right and they are wrong, just like it wouldn't be true to say that they are right and I am wrong. What's really going on here is that when you get a rejection, all it really means is, not for me right now. That's what an editor, submissions agent, whoever it is you're submitting to, when they say no to your work, all they are saying, all they really can say, is not for me right now. And there's 2 parts to that. So one is not for me. It means I am not the audience for that work. And the right now part just has to do with the fact that, as you develop in your career, as you make a name for yourself, a lot of times your early rejectors will become fans. They'll come to understand your style and what you're going for, and they'll see the things they may have missed on the first pass through. And that's not to say you need to submit the same story multiple times to an outlet. Most places ask that you don't do that, but if they do, that's cool too. But the most important thing here is that it's never about being objectively right or objectively wrong. Those things don't exist. And the most important thing is for you to understand when your story is finished, when your story is ready to go, when your story really does have an audience out there, and then holding true to that when it comes time to deal with rejections, because every story gets rejections from someone. You think of it this way: there are best-selling, published, revered works. There are literary classics that get negative reviews. One of my favorites is, you should look this up after the video. There's a fantastic rant from Shaw, from George Bernard Shaw, talking about how much he hated Shakespeare. And what I love about that is that, I personally love Shakespeare. I think he's a classic for a reason. I think it's well deserved. But it just goes to show there are, another respected literary giant doesn't like his work. And that just goes to show that it's simply a matter of audience. Every story, if you are sincere, if you respect the craft, if you really hone it and make that story the best it can be, it has an audience. So really the whole submission process is just a matter of finding the audience. And you should never take rejection as a sign that there is no audience. It just means that you haven't found it yet. And it's an important step to finding that audience, because every time someone says, I am not your audience, you've narrowed down the idea of who your audience is. You have narrowed it down, and you've carved off one more piece of the map until you can get right down to that spot that is your audience. And then there you go. So please, I hope I hope you find this helpful. Please feel free to comment, share, like, subscribe, and especially share this with any of your other writer friends who are feeling discouraged by rejection, because again, it's good for them. Rejection is a good thing. It helps you as a writer, and it's important to understand what's really happening when a rejection comes along. So that's it. I'll see you all later. Bye.